Yo, what's up guys, Rackles here, welcome back to a brand new video. So I'm the type of person to basically use my technology till the point where I can no longer use it. My mouse and keyboard are really no exception. I actually just recorded a video yesterday talking about my brand new keyboard, which you can also see in the webcam. But today, this video is about the mouse. And I actually didn't have it for super long, which is kind of part of why I really didn't want to replace it. But I did eventually have to bite the bullet because it just had too many issues with it. It actually had some minor issues like right off the bat, but it wasn't anything that was like absolutely, I don't know, not game breaking, mouse breaking, I suppose. Essentially, like not that long after I got it, probably only a few months in, so the bottom of it kind of started getting all like sticky or inconsistent, if that makes sense. Not sticky, it wasn't gross like that, I promise. Well, not until later at least, but we'll get into that. But yeah, like when I was dragging it across my mouse pad, I noticed that it would just be really inconsistent. Sometimes it would glide pretty smoothly, other times it would take a lot of force for me to push it, which is obviously really bad. Like no matter what game you're playing, it's just bad, but especially when I'm playing a shooter like Quakecraft or Quake Duels. But I kind of just worked through it because it wasn't fully broken and I still really liked the mouse outside of that. But yeah, that was a pretty noticeable issue with it pretty soon after I got it, which was quite disappointing. I actually thought it was the mouse pad at first because it was just a really old office mouse pad that I'm pretty sure my mom quite literally stole from her office or something a long time ago. I'd had the mouse pad for a super duper long time, like since I was a kid, so I figured I'd try a different one. The old one that I was using was cloth, so I switched to a plastic one, which I actually didn't know was going to be a hard plastic. Guys, he told me to pause, so we're just going to have to wait here for a second. He asked me what's up with my account name. Not really sure how to answer that. Okay, GG's. We can only pause it for so long. I'm trying to record a video here, man. And we finally got a different map. Let's go. But yeah, I went through actually 2 different mouse pads or something like that. Maybe more. Like the hard plastic one, which was my first ever hard plastic one. That took a while to get used to. It is so much like glidier. I literally had to turn up my sensitivity by a ton when I switched to that. And then I think it was from that one into this current one that I'm using. Maybe there might have been another one in between there, something like that. This one was my first full desk mouse pad, which you can see at least part of. Well, not full desk, but my first 2 were just small squares slash like circles basically. I really did like the mouse and I didn't have any major problems until a few years later. Over time, the scroll wheel started kind of getting just more and more unreliable until the end where it was basically to the point where it's like interfering with my gameplay. It obviously doesn't affect me right now since I'm playing Quake Duels, but if I was to be playing, say for example, UHC Duels, I actually am a scroll wheeler instead of a hotkeyr, which I know is kind of crazy in 2025, but I've just always played that way. It's like good enough, okay? Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. It would be better if I didn't scroll wheel, but it is what it is. But yeah, basically the scroll wheel had been kind of like melting slash developing like a bump in it, I guess. And eventually the bump in the scroll wheel started getting so big that basically I couldn't scroll it consistently. Like this scroll wheel is notched, you know? And so if I scrolled it one time, one notch slash like one rotation of the scroll wheel equals one hotbar space, like moving over. But what was happening was one single notch would either do nothing or do multiple, or sometimes like I couldn't even make it move over a notch because of the lump. Like it would just kind of get stuck and I'd have to like spin it a bunch to fix it. It was a problem for a really long time and I just kind of dealt with it because like I said, that's what I do. I just keep using the tech until it's completely unusable, and it was not yet completely unusable. I was in fact still using it as a mouse and like it was affecting my gameplay experience, but I did not care, bro. My scroll wheel had officially just kind of melted into a ball, and this guy's asking me how my day's been. It's been pretty good, man. Thank you for asking. How come you guys never ask me stuff like that in the comments? You guys are so mean. Please ask me in the comments, you know? What? How did those miss? Is it bad since I started owning him? I don't know. I think I'd be a pretty good owner personally. I take good care of my kittens, right guys? Right? So anyways, I finally bit the bullet and went into a store to go get a new mouse. I just went into like a local tech store because I don't really like ordering things online. I almost never do it. The keyboard was a massive exception, and if you watched the keyboard video, you would know that that could have gone better, I suppose. So I eventually went into a store and I figured I would get something different from the previous mouse, the Logitech G502 Hero Edition. Did I say that? That was the mouse I had before. I'm pretty sure I said that. I figured I'd get a different one. Even though I really loved this mouse, like, and I was actually highly considering getting it again, pretty much my mindset was like, well, it had that issue of the glidiness kind of breaking down really quickly after I got it, and I didn't want to repeat that. but I decided to get something else that was around the same price range, and I picked one of the ones that they had like out on display so I could kind of get a feel for it. I ended up going with the SteelSeries Aerox 3. I don't think it's a very popular mouse. I've never heard of anyone using it. I looked it up and it's kind of got mixed reviews, especially the V1. I did get the V2 edition specifically because it's significantly better. I don't even really know if you can like tell what mouse I'm using from the webcam. It's not a great angle. I do apologize, but you might be able to tell that it's not an Aerox mouse. I used that for about a week, probably not even. I think I used that for less than a week and I just could not get it to work for me. I don't think it's a great mouse for Minecraft PvP and stuff. It's obviously a lot of clicking, at least with 1.8, which is what I play. I barely touch the newer versions of the game. And I noticed that it was really, really hard to click consistently, but I had to push it down really far in order to get it to click, which kind of meant that getting high CPS was already a struggle. Also, sometimes it would just kind of stop clicking altogether because like I would still be clicking it, but I wasn't letting it go all the way up to register a new click. And beyond that, had really, really weird sensitivity. It is a super light mouse, which was the first time I'd ever used a super light, so I do think that's probably had something to do with it. But like the best way I can describe it is that it somehow felt too sensitive and too slow at the same time, and I like fiddled around with the settings a lot. Obviously I made sure that mouse acceleration was off and all that, but yeah, it was too finicky to try to control properly. But yeah, also this wasn't really like a major factor or anything, but I did think it was weird. It's a wired mouse, which is what I wanted. I'm not a big fan of wireless mice. I used to have one a long time ago and it caused me grief. I had to get rid of it essentially. Though to be fair, that was also with a different computer. Maybe it would work better with this one. I don't know. I just figured I'd get a wired one though, regardless. And this was the first time I'd seen a wired mouse that was unpluggable. Like, is that not weird? Instead of a cord coming out the front of the mouse, it just was a little USB slot, and then you could either unplug it or have it plugged in. In the week or so that I used it, that never unplugged, but it was kind of a fear of mine. I was like, what if it just suddenly unplugs itself when I try to pull back on my mouse a little bit? That would obviously not be great. I also don't understand why that's even a feature / option, because if it's not plugged in, it's not doing anything. It's a wired mouse. You couldn't use it wireless. Why would you ever want to unplug it there? Especially because, you know, you also still have to plug it into the computer. In my unprofessional opinion, it was pretty nonsensical. I just don't get it, man. Also, that was a terrible play on my end. Let me go do it again. Okay, never mind. We got him that time. So anyways, that was my experience with that mouse. I ended up returning it and I just decided to bite the bullet. I said, you know what? Whatever. I really loved the G502 Hero. I'm gonna just do it again. Like, let's run it back, okay? And run it back, I did. And it wasn't until I got home and plugged it in that I was like, wait a second. They like changed this mouse and I did not hear anything about that. So I went and looked it up and just there's a bunch of Reddit threads that were also like, hey, they changed this at some point and never mentioned it. It's not a different model or anything. It's the exact same thing. It's just slightly different. I swear this game does have other maps. It's just only giving me these ones for some reason, but that's fine, I guess. I do like this map the most out of all of them, so fair enough. But yeah, it was quite a surprise. I looked it up and there was lots of Reddit threads talking about it as well. The first thing that I noticed right away when I got it was that the cord was different. That was what like tipped me off. The old one's cord was like threaded, if that makes sense, and this one's just hard plastic casing around it. A lot of people online seemed to think this was for the purpose of cost reduction, which personally I don't really care. Even though the threaded was like arguably higher quality and visually nicer, I kind of prefer this one because I don't have a mouse bungee or anything, which meant that like the threaded version was running off the back of my desk and it was just kind of getting frayed, or it just felt kind of weak, if that makes sense. I think we lose the win streak on this one. GG's guys, there's a good run. Maybe not. Can we come back? Okay, hold on. I might have spoken too soon. I kind of had to lock in a little bit though. Okay, GG's. Wow, a different map. I was just about to say, man, it turns out it's not as easy to commentate this game when you're actually up against like a good player instead of just some random non. And lo and behold, I'm against this leaderboard player again. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Anyways, some other things that I saw on like the Reddit thread and then obviously noticed for myself as well as soon as it was pointed out was like the actual size of the mouse is different. The newer model is just bigger. Like it's taller and kind of more bulgy shaped, for lack of a better term. Although I definitely could use a better term than that one. Like undoubtedly there's a better term out there. It's got more of a bulge, it's a little bit physically bigger and taller, and it's also like longer lengthwise. The actual mouse buttons themselves are just longer as well, basically. And so it's not like a massive difference, but it is definitely noticeable, like if I have them both in my hand one after another, and I honestly do prefer the older one. I'm not gonna lie. This one's not bad. It did take me a while to get used to, surprisingly though, to be able to like click it well and effectively again. Ironically, despite the fact that I got rid of the old mouse because it was messing me up so much, aside from the issues I had with it, it was actually like the best I'd ever been using that mouse, if that makes sense. I don't know. I felt like I was really in the zone whenever I'd been using it lately. And I think we do lose the win streak after all. Yeah, geez. And then I switched to this one and everything went out the window. Although to be fair, I did also change my keyboard at almost the exact same time and my in-game settings. Like I changed my FOV and stuff and my sensitivity and other in-game settings. I changed everything everywhere all at once. And it definitely made me worse for a while. Maybe arguably still worse, but you know, it's a constant improvement. Such is life, okay? We will rebuild to where we were beforehand. Come down here, man. Don't make me try to shoot you through the floor. There we go. I didn't shoot him through the floor. Instead, I just whiffed him like 10 times. Now, the final difference that I know of between these two mice is that the actual switches are different. As far as like clicking them down is concerned, I haven't felt any particular difference. However, you definitely can hear a difference. I'll be honest, I don't know how well you'll be able to hear said difference over like a YouTube video, but in person, you definitely can notice a difference. I looked it up in a Okay, and when I was reading the Reddit thread, again, a lot of people speculated that this was to make it basically cheaper to produce. I really have no idea if that's true. Like, it's obviously just some Reddit thread. Like I said, I couldn't find any official information about the two differences between the models, essentially. So yeah, it's really just up to speculation for that stuff. Dude, I low-key hate this map against a good player. Like, they just spawn invisible and you can't do anything. They need to fix this. Hold on. Ooh, through the gates tech. Ooh, through the gate tech for the win. Yeah, those are the only differences I'm aware of. I've definitely gotten pretty used to this new one. At this point, I don't really care about the differences between the two. I do kind of still prefer the older one, but maybe if you have bigger hands, this one's maybe better. Or maybe you just want the most recent edition regardless. Like I said, a lot of people said these were probably budget cut things, but it doesn't feel like any cheaper or worse than the original in any way. I actually do prefer some of the changes. I definitely enjoy its ability to use a scroll wheel and also like not be really weirdly inconsistent when I'm trying to move it across my mouse pad. However, getting this new mouse also did make me realize something about my old mouse. It actually helped me fix the issue that I was having with the scroll wheel. I don't think there's any way to like say this without it sounding really gross, but essentially, right, I thought the scroll wheel was rubber because I mean, that's a pretty common thing with mice, especially like all the ones growing up. Most of the ones that I used in like the library and the computer lab all just had regular rubber scroll wheels. I assumed this was one of those, and I thought the issue was that over time from use, it had just kind of like melted and deformed. After getting this new mouse, I pretty much right away noticed like, hey, wait a second, this scroll wheel is like silver and hard plastic. This is not like a rubber soft mouse wheel like I thought it was. Wait a second here. So I went to go get my mouse and like try to like scrape some of the stuff off of it, essentially like the rubbery stuff off, and it just came off. And I was like, dude, you have to be kidding me. Like, there's no way. I had actually noticed that I was able to like dent it / like damage it beforehand, but like I said, with that exact wording, I thought I was somehow damaging it. I thought scraping it would be a bad idea and that it would kind of, well, take it all away and then there'd be nothing left. But it turns out that there was just like so much gunk and dead skin attached to it that it had completely covered the silver hard plastic part and given it like this layer of built up dead skin and stuff, which is just like kind of gross, I'll be honest. Maybe a little bit more than just kind of. Obviously, I then decided to take a toothpick to it and get all of it off as much as I could, as well as like the entire rest of the mouse as well, because that was also a little bit dirty. Wasn't really sure how to properly go about cleaning it, but yeah, the toothpick did in fact work. I breathed new life into this mouse, and now the scroll wheel is perfectly fine again. Like, I literally completely fixed the entire problem that made me want to go and get a new mouse in the first place. I guess the moral of the story is take good care of your like equipment. I have basically learned that lesson, and I've been doing that as well, especially with the keyboard more so than the new mouse, but the keyboard's really white, so it's actually a lot easier to notice when it gets gross, unlike my old keyboard and mouse, which were both black. Doesn't help that I don't have a lot of direct light shining on my setup, so it's like makes it a lot harder to notice / it blends in a lot more. I actually did consider going in and returning this mouse, but I felt weird and awkward to do that because I just went in and returned the last mouse, and I was like, well, they're gonna think something's weird about it, even though I'm sure they probably would not have cared in the slightest or even known that I had done that. Plus, I was like, well, you know what, the old one did still have the whole sensitivity issue where it was like really inconsistent depending on its placement and stuff. So I figured I'd just keep it, and now I have two mice in case I ever get into toe clicking or something. It'd be kind of fun to play with two mice. I could probably do it, huh? Anyways, this video and the last one were the first two that I've done with hand cam in a super duper long time. I know the angles were like a little bit jank, so I apologize for that. I'm actually borrowing a friend's tripod to film these with, and I'm returning it to him in about an hour from now. So I wanted to get these out of the way. Let me know what you thought about the hand cam angle and if you want to see more. I try to put the money I make through YouTube back into like YouTube related stuff. And obviously this new mouse and keyboard are the first two things that I've bought with the money that I made from YouTube. So yeah, huge thank you so much again for the support. If you haven't already, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. And like I always say at the end of all of my videos, stay alive out there, Fit Fam.